Hi, welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Billy J. We're taking the gospels back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is Stone. Story of Stephen. Hard Heart. This is part of the Hard Heart series. And I'm wrapping it up. And I wanted to end with Stephen because Stephen is the extreme example of a hard heart and what it eventually leads to. And I want you to turn in your Bibles to Acts 7. So we're going to start this message. Now, part of the series that began today, if you hear his voice, it started it out. And I've been plowing through, and I've taught on this before, this subject matter before, because it's very important when you hear God's voice speaking to you, to not harden your heart, to listen to what he's saying. One of my pet peeves, and if you stay in the way for a while, you become God-like in the sense that you understand what pisses God off. You start feeling more like him in the way, or feeling like him in the sense that what pisses him off pisses you off. Things he likes, things you like. Things he dislikes, and things you dislike. That's becoming God-like, not perfect like I'm a little angel or whatever. That's not what the Bible's talking about. Even the Bible says, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Come on, mature. Grow up. Just like a child. You act just like your dad. You ever heard that? Or you act just like your mom. Role model influence. As he's our Father in heaven. And we're supposed to adapt to his ways, not the other way around. See, the church world got everything backwards. They got God as a genie in a bottle, bellhop, caterer to their needs. That's not the God I serve. He is God. And we're created to worship him. And we're created to praise him, not the other way around. We're created to serve him, not the other way around. Now he responds in kind when we line up with what he says. But you have to listen. And that's one of my pet peeves is people not listening. Goes one through one ear and the other and bounces off the wall. It's been the story of my life. And they run out and do their own thing. After receiving instruction. It's called Forgive My series on presumption. Like I told you, I've been on this topic. Presumption, God hates it. Check out that video. You got to line up with thus saith the word of the Lord, not the other way around. And God said, you turn to me, I'll turn to you. You take a step toward him, he'll take two toward you. And the majority of that is listening. Jesus said over and over to the disciples, hear ye, listen. Listen. Words went through their ears and bounced off the walls too. They didn't even believe he was going to resurrect. They went off fishing. They weren't standing by his tomb like the women were. They wrote him off. They hear things he said. And that's typical of most people. Now, like I said in the last series, don't expect no special divine revelation from God until you act on this book right here. Don't expect no special revelation to you until you acted on the revelation of his word right here. And that's the problem. You got a lot of spiritual booty birds in the church running around looking for an experience, looking for a word from the Lord. Plenty of word right here in this book. Plenty. 66 books of word. 66 books of revelation. How God feels. 66 books of instructions and orders for you to follow. It's not complicated at all. Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. He said it, James, it says it's the hearers. It's not the hearers, it's the doers. You hear and you do. You keep his commandments. It's action. The Bible says, get much serious on love, not the world. A lot of you can't tell your Christianity no different from the world. Way of doing things. Nothing sets you apart. You participate in their holy days, doing everything they do. What's the difference? Jesus told the Pharisees, or the people that was around him when he was talking to the Pharisees, he said, unless your righteousness outdoes these Pharisees, you ain't going to get into heaven. We're called to be separate, called to be set apart. That's what holy means. And walking around on clouds, it just means wholly separated for God's purpose, wholly dedicated. God wants to hold you. That's what it meant to take an object and put it on the altar to be fully consumed for the deity. That's what holy means. Hagios, when it means totally separated. That's what God wants. Not running around like the average Christian, just mouth CNN, Christian in name on, just talk. Doers. That's what God looking for. Listeners and doers. What God is trying to fill heaven. People that listen. Now, this bunch here that we're about to read about, hard was super hard to the point where they turned on the person delivering God's word, on God's chosen vessel delivering the word. That's typical. From one end of the book to the other, the prophets being stoned, killed by the people. The majority is always wrong in the Bible. That's why I don't listen to the majority. I care what the majority thinks. I go by thus saith the word of God. Majority always wrong in God's word. From one end of the book to the next. They wanted to stone Moses. God opened up the earth and swallowed. I'll give a teaching on Korah and his rebellion. God opened the earth and swallowed up hundreds of them, rebelling against Moses. But that was also the result of a hard heart too. That's why we're teaching on this subject. Now, let's go to Acts 7. Then said the high priest, are these things so? They're addressing Stephen before the council. And he's going to tell him about the unbelief. Their unbelief in history. And he said, men, brethren, and fathers hearken. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia. He's going to take him all the way back to Abraham, the father of faith. When he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Shinar, and said unto him, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall show thee. Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Charran. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into the land wherein ye now dwell. And he gave him none inheritance in it, not so much as to set his foot on it. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession. Abraham died, not obtaining the promise. And so many of them did in the Bible. We'll give them a teaching on Hebrews 11. The heroes of faith is the title. The resurrection is going to vindicate us. Not time. Normal. Abraham looks silly just walking in a giant circle equivalent to the size of California. Well, just a promise that wherever his foot, sole of his foot touch, that would be his descendants' inheritance. Now he could have walked in a 100 by 100 foot circle, and that would have been what was entitled to his descendants. But God said it would be numbered as the stars, if you can look up and count the stars, or the sand of the sea. So he did some hooking. He did some serious work to make sure his descendants had plenty of territory to expand. But he died not obtaining the promise. He wasn't broke. He was a Hyksos king. He was a shepherd king. He was rich. But he didn't own no land. And he gave him non-inheritance in it. No, not so much as to set his foot on it. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession and to his seed after him. And as yet he had no child. He didn't have a child. And God spake on the wise that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring him out into bondage, as Egypt, and entreat him evil for 400 years. Abraham asked him, well, what sign are you going to give me that you're going to do all this? And God gave him a nightmare, showed it his descendants going down into Egypt, becoming slaves, and God delivered them through Moses. And the nation to whom shall be in bondage will I judge, said God, and after that shall they come forth and serve me in his place. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day, and Isaac begat Jacob and begat the 12 patriarchs. and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but God was with him. God was going to use Joseph. I done taught on him to look up the teaching of Joseph. But God was going to use Joseph to save Israel, his people. What they did was evil. And Joseph's a type of Christ in the Bible, being rejected by his brother, and then exalted to being a king over his brother, and then bound to him. Like he told him, Joseph gave him a dream, he said, oh, you gonna bow to me, including mom and dad. And that's when they began to hate him. He said, who do you think he is? And they got jealous and envious and sold him in his land. That's how he got to Egypt. But God was with him. Verse 10, Acts 17, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh. I'm going to read that again slowly. And delivered him out of all his afflictions. Certainly, God, you're going to have afflictions. Jesus promised. Jesus guaranteed it. He said, blessed are you when people separate from your company, whatever you spit your name out of their mouth as evil. Separate from your company, rival you, unjustly take from you. He said, rejoice. Jesus said, I didn't come to bring peace to this earth. I came to bring a sword. I came to set mother against father, daughter against son, wife against husband. I come to split families up, split people up. God's word taught properly divides. That's what we're about to read here today. God's word taught properly divides. Doesn't bring together, divides. It only brings together if everybody's on the same page with God's word. You're either in light or you're in darkness. That's what Christ said. He made it clear. No such thing as half light, half dark. That's mediocre land. Mediocrity equals hell. Get that video. That's the average Christian. They're in mediocrity land. Christ said, I want you hot or cold. Ain't no ain't no middle ground. Now, we're going to read. Let's continue on. And delivered him out of all his afflictions and gave him favor. You're going to have afflictions. And wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Now their king Dorth over all the land of Egypt. Famine came. And Canaan in great affliction. And our fathers found no substance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. And at the second time, Joseph was made known to his brother, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father, Jacob, to him, and all the kindred, threescore and 15 souls. That's on 75 souls. So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over unto Shechem and laid in the sepulchre. Abraham bought just a tomb from the heathen to bury his family there. Abraham bought for a son of money of the sons of Emor, the father of Shechem. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, when God had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph. The same dealt suddenly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end that they might not live. In which time Moses was born, and was exceedingly fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for our own son. The same Pharaoh began to, typical of the tyrants, when they soothsayers and sorcerers tell them the deliverer's coming. But the Hebrews, he began to throw them into the Nile, 2 and under. Just like Herod did later with Jesus being born. They didn't want no promised deliverer to come and deliver the slave. The last thing the slave owner wants is a deliverer to rise. So they try to kill him in an infancy. But God used that same Nile River to float Moses right on up into Pharaoh's kingdom and be trained to be the next Pharaoh. He turned his back on the position, but he would have been the next Pharaoh. Ted Moses. Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and was mighty in words and in deeds. And when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him. Moses was told he was a Hebrew. He was raised by his family, mom and his sister. He was part of the prince's court. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that oppressed and smote the Egyptian. Moses murdered the Egyptian, for he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood it not. They looked at him as an Egyptian, the enemy. Well, put it in modern times. Picture someone that oppressed and hated Jews in our country like Hitler. And a guy high up in the SS, but he's a Jew. But he's passing as a German. But he loves his people, and he knows that he's Jew, not German. And he's planning to get the throne from Hitler and being groomed to be the next Führer of Germany. It's a picture there. That's how they looked at Moses, like he still wanted him. They didn't have no love for the Egyptians. The Egyptians was the taskmasters. They were in slavery to the Egyptians. They were killing their children, abusing their women. There was no love for them. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, we are brethren. Why do you wrong one another? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge over us? They rejected Moses. Wilt thou kill me as thou killest the Egyptian yesterday? The word spread, and that's not good. I mean, his own people were giving up. Wilt thou kill us as thou killest the Egyptian yesterday? Then fled Moses at this saying, and was a stranger in the land of Midian, where he begat 2 sons. And when 40 years were expired, Moses was 40 when he left, and now he's at 80, out in this wilderness tending sheep for his father-in-law, Jethro. Going round and round with sheep for 40 years, that was his training. And he's 80 years old now. And when 40 years is expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in a bush. And when Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight. And as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him, saying, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Then Moses trembled, and durst not behold. Then said the Lord to him, Put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground. Now, you've heard me use this analogy before, used to follow street crews. That mountain was pissed on, crapped on, and done everything else on by animals. But then when God showed up on the scene, the mountain became holy. That goes back to my example, what I told you earlier. Now that mountain is set aside for God's purpose. It's a holy mountain now. It's wholly separated. Then said the Lord to him, Put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people, which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and I am come down to deliver them. God came down to deliver his people. And I am come down to deliver them, and now come will I send thee to Egypt. Said Moses, I got a mission for you. You're going back to Egypt. Now Moses had enough of killing Egyptians in Egypt. He was burnt out. He didn't want nothing to do with the job. He was happy going around and around with them sheep in the wilderness. Then Moses, whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be ruler and a deliverer to the hand, by the hand of the angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out. After that he showed wonders and signs in the land of Egypt, and in the Red Sea, and in the wilderness 40 years. They seen, now this is, I want you to pay close attention to this. This bunch here seen more miracles, well, them and the Egyptians, than any people in history. They seen the acts of God. They seen the plagues, the 10 plagues God rained down on Egypt. They seen the Red Sea divided, and they go over on dry land. And they seen the Red Sea close up and swallow up Pharaoh and his army that was chasing 600 chariots, which they found as a historical fact. They found the chariot wheels knocked off just like God said, and the chariots in the bottom of the Red Sea just like God said. God's word's a fact. Archaeology and history has proven his word over and over is fact. Not a bedtime story. But anyway, these people saw all these miracles of God. And how did they behave? That's what miracles don't mean now. The false prophet, the Antichrist, is going to come duplicate the miracles that was in the Bible, including Elijah's miracles, bringing fire down from heaven. Going to sway the whole world with miracles. Believing that they're of God because they can do miracles. No, they're going to be of Satan, with the dragon. And they're going to deceive the whole world with miracles. So miracles don't mean anything. That is Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Him shall ye hear. Talking about Christ. Moses prophesied that in Deuteronomy 18. The prophecy of Christ coming. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. The law, the Torah, came through Moses, the law of God, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts pay close attention. Pay close attention and just listen. But thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life, Egypt. Symbol of the world. Turn back to the world. Turned away from God and turns back to the world. That's the average Christian in the average church right now. They're worldly Christians. Worldly gospel music. Worldly preachers. The smiley songs. New Age babies. Lucas glitter tees. Stadium fillers. Prosperity pills. Worldly. Egypt. They're in Egypt. Egyptian Christians. Oh, it's going to be my new title. Watch somebody steal it from me. Egyptian Christians. That's what they are. Celebrating the holy days that were celebrated going back to Egypt. Xmas, Easter, Halloween. All these customs been celebrated back to Babylon before Egypt. Nimrod and his crew. It's the average Christian. Can't tell them no part from Egypt. Egyptian Christian. Should have titled this Egyptian Christian. We might use it later. And say I didn't warn you. To whom my father would not obey, but thrust him from them. In their hearts turned again into Egypt, saying unto Aaron, make us gods. I told him, I'll give my teaching. Brother Aaron, the people's pastor. That's the title. That's what they cater to the people, not to God. They're building idols for the people to bow down to. They're like that pedal pope in Rome. Idol worship. False gods. False god worship. Egyptian Christians. Saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses, see what disdain they say his name for, as this Moses. Moses is up there worshiping God on the mountain. 40 days fasting and getting the law. And they're down there building idols, false gods, to serve and bow down to and conducting the worship at the foot of the mountain, foot of Mount Sinai. pissed God and Moses off. Moses personally wiped out 3,000 at the foot of the mountain. God was going to wipe them all out. He wanted to wipe the whole tribe out. The tribes out. He wanted to wipe the whole nation of Israel. But Moses begged him to heal him. He killed 3,000. They found the graves. That's another thing archaeology found the 3,000 graves at the foot of the mountain, like God said. They found Mount Sinai, like God said. Said unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For it's for this Moses with this day, which brought us out of the land of Egypt. They loved Egypt. They loved slavery. They loved bondage. They seriously had a Stockholm syndrome. This bunch here. They craved their slave masters. They craved leeks and garlic. They wanted to go back to that. To the flesh pots of Egypt. They didn't like stepping out in faith and going to a land of milk and honey, but they had to fight and had to endure hardship to get there. They wanted a cushy trip, like the average Christian wants a cushy ride to heaven. Don't want to endure affliction, tribulations, trials, rejection, failure, disappointment, loneliness. Don't want to endure that. And they made, was not that big came of him. And they made a calf in those days and offered sacrifice unto the idol and rejoiced in the works of their own hands, their own religion, the religion they created. And that's what it was, religion. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book. They started worshiping the sun, the moon, stars like the record.